Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a wonderful day or evening or afternoon, depending on where you are. So today it's a bit of a hard topic that I'm going to be talking about because it's one of the highly requested videos that I have been asked to do. So just a few backstories. So in last year, 2020, in April, I hosted this platform on Snapchat and it's called Zim to the World. So on this platform, I shared about how I've been married and now I'm not married anymore. So a lot of people wanted to know further because I didn't really finish talking about it because, you know, the network issues and all that. So I didn't get to finish the story. And then end of last year on my birthday again, I hosted the platform again. It was on my birthday and again, people were like so excited that I'm back on the platform. But the number one question that I kept on being asked is, can you please tell us the story of what happened with you and your ex-husband and all that? So I just thought to let me come on here and do the video so that if anybody wants to watch it or if it's going to help somebody uh, who has experienced what I went through, maybe they can just have a look or and be helped somewhere somehow. So yeah, so if you just want to grab a coffee, grab tea, grab some snacks, because it is going to be a long chat, a long talk. So yeah, I've actually got my snacks, I've got my coffee, because a lot of tea is going to be spilt in this, honey. I've also got, just in case, I'm ready. I'm drinking Mazoe. So I've also got this prepared. I've also got some cookies. Oh my God. I've also got some cookies. These are the cookies that I made earlier. So I'm going to be seeing me eating those. And I also got some crisps, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So yeah. So grab your coffee, grab your drink, grab your wine, because we're going to be talking about this. And please, this is not a video to expose or to talk about what really happened. Well, I am going to talk about what really happened, but don't then go, for those that know him, don't then go and be like bashing him or whatever it is or whatever that happened. So yeah, it's a very sensitive and it's not an easy topic, because when I eventually talked about it, it had already like happened. That was my first time when I spoke about it on Zim to the World after like, I think nearly 2 years or a year and a half of us being separated and not together anymore. So it took some guts to finally talk about it, but I feel like I'm a young woman and a lot of people, because I've even had like older people, not elder, older people like coming to me like, oh, I've also experienced this has also happened to me, and how have you managed to like overcome what's happened, how have you dealt with the situation and stuff like that. So this is just me sharing my story to you, and if you relate or if you want any advice as well, or just to know that I'm just sharing my story to let you know that you're not alone. Like, this happens. Pardon me, I'm only 26. And this has happened to me at the age of 26. So anyway, without further ado, let me not keep on rambling about it. Let's just get into it. Okay, so where do I start? So I'll start with myself and uh, just a bit of a backstory of myself and what I'm like in a way. So I've been one of those people that's always been in a relationship, trying to be in the next relationship, whatever, ever. So my first ever relationship, I was 18 years old. That's when I first started like dating and stuff like that. So yeah, I was a bit of a late bloomer, if you say. So yeah, I started dating when I was 18, and then after that I had another boyfriend and then another boyfriend. So I've always been one person that's just like went into the relationship. If I break up with somebody, then I'll go into another relationship. But before I met my husband, after my last relationship before my ex-husband, I had made the decision like, no, I'm gonna stop um and just have a little bit of time for myself, and yeah, just enjoy and pray to God, and praying for a husband that's gonna come, blah 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 blah. So in end of 2016, so how old was I then? Oh, anyway, I can't remember. Anyway, end of 2016, um, there was this lady, sadly she is late now, but there was this lady and she used to go to um my church that I go to now, and she was a very, very lovely lady. And yeah, we got really, really close. I got really, really close with this lady. And then she was telling me like, oh, I have my son. So you know, like how traditionally, like, it's like an auntie, but you know how traditionally us in Africa, in the African culture, we will call them, they'll call them like the son as well. So she was just telling me like, oh, I have my son, and oh, he's coming here to the UK and stuff like that. His name is so and so. I'm not gonna use his name because I just don't think it's necessary to put his name out there. But of course, those that know him, you would know who he is. So I was told he's coming to the UK, and yeah, just of course like talking. He's a very nice person. This, and that. So I was like, okay, fair enough. And I was like, yeah, give him my number. We can just be talking. Of course, at the start, you just like talking and stuff. So we started talking. And then, like, the conversation that we were having, it was literally like as if I had known this person for a very long time. You know, you have that kind of feeling sometimes where you're like, oh my God, like, what is happening? So that's what was happening with me. We kept on talking and talking and talking and talking. It became like a thing of talking every single day, day and night, morning, afternoon, evening, even falling asleep, talking to this guy on the phone. Backstory: this guy was not here. He lived in South Africa, and of course I lived here in England. So we would talk, literally WhatsApp, video calls every single day. And then I was now like starting to think to myself, because you know, us some girls, we get too excited. And we're like, oh my God, we start like thinking, planning the wedding, everything. Like, you'll be like, oh my God, he was my answered prayer, this and that. So it felt like that because it was kind of like the qualities that I was asking for from God, asking from God. That's what I mean. Like the qualities, and what I was like, oh my God, this is the guy. And I was just like literally like tick, 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 tick. So now in my head, I'm like, God, is this my answered prayer? Like, how is this possible that we are flowing, we're getting along? all this, and everything is just perfect. In a way, everything was just perfect. So his mom lived in America, and he had a sister who lived in Canada. So I was like, oh, well, he's not like one of those people like who's, it's like, it's legit, it's genuine. And because of the woman that introduced me to him, their relationship was so close, and I was really close to her. I was like, there's no way that she's gonna get me to be introduced to somebody who is like a douchebag. You know what I mean? So there's just no way. And to, of course, to them, he was perfect. But when you're with family and with your spouse, it's it's not the same. And I'm sure all you people who are married, you know the real person than what your family knows, um, than what that family knows. So yeah. So anyway, fast forward, I was like, oh, I was then planning to go and see him in South Africa. But then beforehand, I was like, oh, I always go. So I had made it like a thing that every year I always go to Canada, because I have got family in Canada anyway. So I was like, oh, I was actually planning, I was going to Canada in August. So he was like, oh, that's nice. So you can then go and meet my sister and all this and that. So I was planning to go to Canada for 3 weeks. So August, I went to Canada. Of course, we're talking this and that. And then August, I went to Canada. I went to live with the sister and the husband, and the sister just had a baby at the time as well. So I went there for a week. Oh my God, I had the best time of my life with them. They're such a lovely couple, a lovely family. So we had like literally the best time whilst I was there. Then the last 2 weeks, I then went and saw my family in Sulukout. So his sister lived in Toronto, and then my family lived in Sulukout. So yeah, spent a week in Toronto and then 2 weeks in Sulukout. And then I came back. So that was August. And then I planned to go and see him in October. So yeah, eventually we're talking like everything is going good. Like we're all good, everything is fine. So I eventually told, I think before I went to Canada, I told my mom. Me and my mom are super close. um I literally love that woman. She's not only just like my mom, but she's like an auntie to me, like a sister, well, sister, auntie, whatever. But I told my mom about Tim, and of course, because of the relation of the person that introduced me to him, we're all very close with the family. So everybody was excited for me. Um, and I even told my sisters, both of them, I told them, and my sister-in-law. So I told them all about him, and even I think my sister even spoke to him, my sister and my sister's husband. So my brother-in-law even spoke to him. Everybody was like super happy. At first, my mom was a bit skeptical because of there's been previous things that happened, and just the typical of like somebody in Africa, yes, they're trying to talk to somebody here because they just want to come, they want to come to England. So my mom at first, but then convinced her, and she spoke to him, and eventually she approved. So we never told my brother because, yeah, my brother is just one of those, he's just a very sensitive, and he knows just like that. And I think that's one of the mistakes that I did, that I didn't tell my brother at the beginning, because I knew he would have just discouraged it, and it wouldn't have turned out good. So anyway, I went all the way to South Africa, and I went there for 3 weeks, nearly 4 weeks. We stayed in Randburg. Those that know South Africa, went to visit loads of different places. Went to Pretoria, Randburg. We went to was that Sun City? Oh my God, Sun City was amazing. Anyway, backstory. So yeah, We went there, you know, he was being a gentleman and being all nice. Everything was good. Um, but of course, when you go there, you start like seeing some little red flags. So there were just some things that were just happening that to myself I was just like, "Ugh, what's going on?" But I never really took much notice of it. So I never really took much notice of it because I was like, oh, anyway, you know, of course we don't live together and all these things and stuff that's happening. Oh, it's just normal. And then I was coming back. We went out for a meal. Yeah, so this is 2017. We went out for a meal. We were going out for a meal. And then he was like, oh, no, don't wear this. Don't wear that dress. Wear this one. This is. So I knew like something was happening or something was going to happen. So we went to, is it the casino? What's the famous casino in South Africa? I don't know. I forgot the name. But we went there and we had some food, we enjoyed, and then when we were walking, we went to like this beautiful, it was like a waterfall, and then he proposed. And of course, I was so happy, I was excited, everything. I said yes. And then, yeah, so he proposed, we told the family, everybody was happy. Like, it's like everybody like was knowing that these things was gonna happen. So everybody was happy, everybody excited. So this was 3 days before I was coming back. He did that, and then I came back, and then we started talking. We keep on talking, you know, we're excited and all these things. And then what happened? 2018. Yeah. So 2018, so we came in 2018, and then they were like, they'd arranged, like the families arranged that, oh, this is now the time that the families are going to see each other, and then we'll plan a day whereby they're going to come and do the Rora, because we're like, of course, the next thing is obviously the Rora. So they'd planned a day for in March. So bear in mind, we've been talking since basically end of 2016. I'll say really we started like getting like that close in 2017, and then 10 months later or 10 months later he proposed, and then 2018 they were planning like on March, that's when the families are going to come and just meet and introduce each other. So then all of a sudden, the next thing that I was hearing was, oh no, we're coming to do the Rora. So then I went back to him and I was like, what's going on? Like, of course I was still excited and happy, but I was like, what's going on? Like, how come it's been like rushed like that? Like, why is it already like, that we're already going to do the Rora and stuff like that? And he was like, I don't see the rush, you know, this. I was like, okay, fair enough. And of course, the people that were involved of introducing us as well, they were like, oh, we don't see why we should wait, and he's ready, he's got his stuff, and he said he's ready, he wants to do it. So I was like, okay, fair enough, you know, the families. But then before, no, let me backstory. The reason why I was questioning why it was so soon, right? I think I mixed, well, those cookies are so nice. So the reason why you might be wondering, you might be wondering like, why was she questioning if she was so madly in love? And so previously, after when he had proposed, and then when I came back, he just started acting all weird. And weird by like, all of a sudden he started like, he would not speak to me, or if I text him, he would not reply, or reply a bit later. So I just started seeing all these things and noticing other things that he was doing. So I then I was questioning, and I'll go back to the woman that introduced us, and I was like, okay, so this is what is happening. I don't know why he is acting like that. And then everybody was just like, man, and stuff like that. But it's like deep down, like, like when our woman, like our gut, we need to listen to our gut and our intuitions. Like we need to really listen to that, because I was like, what is going on, and the red flags, like it was like as if the person that I was so much in love, like the things that we used to do is like reversed, like he wasn't doing that anymore. And so I was just a bit like, what is going on? But of course, you're stupid and you're like, oh, you're in love, everybody have all these problems. This thing of like everybody has this problem, no, so it's okay. No, it's not okay. If you see the red flags, you need to run, basically. Well, not that quick, but judge it and then see what you can do. So that's the reason why I was like, because I'm not really feeling what is going on. And there's just like an atmosphere that just wasn't nice, that wasn't good. So eventually the families came on March the 3rd. So we got engaged on October the 14th. We got traditionally married when the families came on the 3rd of March 2018. So now, we're like, we're now like married. Traditionally, it went well. You know how lobolas are like. Those who don't know what a lobola is like, so in African cultures, a lobola is like when the families meet and the man comes and pays a bride price, like a dowry, to the woman's side of the family. And yeah, so they did that, and yeah, it was all good, and I was happy, well, happy-ish. But I was just like, yeah, okay. So the Aurora happened, and yeah, uh, we're all happy, and the family received the money. Or eventually, of course, we told my brother. My brother was not happy about it all. He wasn't happy that, first of all, I traveled to Africa by myself, because at the time I was 23. Yes, I was 23 at the time. So, oh, by the way, those that didn't know, my ex was 10 years older than me. So he was 33 at the time, I was 23. So, yeah, so my brother, eventually we told him. How we actually told him is a funny story, because thinking back at it, so we had planned with my sister, we're like, oh, let's invite him to your house so that we can tell him about what's happened. And now at this time, I think, oh, I can't remember, did I tell him? No, I told him before I went. Yes, we told him before I went to South Africa, but then he didn't know. He didn't know when I was going, but we told him before, and he just was not happy. He was not having it. He was literally at me and my sister's throat, and like, you're doing the same thing that your sister did, this and that. Because my sister was also like, she got married to somebody who was in Zim, and then he came here. But he is I love my brother-in-law. He's literally the best. Couldn't fault him. He's amazing. But at the time when it happened, he was just reflecting like, you're doing the same thing that your sister did. And then we're like, but look at her husband, look at him now, like, he's a good guy. He was like, not every guy is gonna be like him. But anyway, he saw his picture, he was already like, I don't trust him, I don't know. I don't know him, this and that. Like, he just doesn't look, I'm a guy, and me looking at this person, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But um, no, I'm not liking this situation. So he was very mad. He was very angry. Um, so yeah, I went. So when I came back, and then when we eventually told him that, oh yeah, I'm engaged. Oh my god, he flipped. Yeah, he was. He's not. If anybody knows my brother, he's such a soft, gentle person. But when he's passionate about something and he doesn't believe in something, he would, not like he would flip. He would do it in a calm way, but you can tell that he's angry. He's just, yeah, he was not in that good headspace. But because that's what I wanted, and that's why he won. He was like, I'll support you, but he wasn't happy. So anyway, everything happened. The order happened. This, and that, and then again, I was now like this. I was like now doubting. I was like, have I made the right decision? Is this really what I want and stuff like that? But then I was like, you know what? Maybe it's just me. Like again, I was just disputing the whole red flags and just like ignoring them. And then there was a lot of things that happened, such things as like he would not stand by me. Whatever decision that we were supposed to make as a couple, is now somebody who's trying to build a life together. It was like everything was just so opposed. And I'm sorry to say, but you, like mommy's boy, but that's literally everything that I would, that was happening. It's like he couldn't stand by his own, by himself. It's like he had to, what other people said is what he had to do, like as if like pleasing other people. And instead of like standing with your family now, uh, he wasn't doing that at all, and that was frustrating me. So then I would go back to the I would go back to the mom. I'll go back to the person that introduced us, and I'll be telling them. And then the person who introduced us, they would tell him and be like, and be advising. Don't get me wrong, the person who introduced us, she was very good, and she stood like, she was like the middle person um that I spoke to, because of course she knew him, and that's his blood. And to me, she knew me. I was like, she always called me like her little sister and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. Like we were really, really close. So she would go and tell him and be like, you need to stop doing that. Like, and then he would come back to me. We'll have a discussion about it. The problem was like he was not understanding. It was like if you talk about something, if you say something, it'll go in, come out. It'll only happen for like a week or two to be like all this, and then switch is like back again. So this was just happening back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I was just like, what is going on? Like now I was just like, I was really not happy. I was really not happy anymore. But again, I was just like, I'm going to everybody that is close to him, that is his family, and nobody can even get through to him as well what is happening. But I was going through this whole emotion, this whole things that I was going through by myself, and nobody knew. Not even, I was like, I'm not gonna tell my mom, I'm not gonna tell my sister. Like, I'm gonna sort this out. I'm gonna sort this. Well, we're gonna sort this out, and then I'll go back and I'll be praying about it as well, and I'll be like, what is going on? And then eventually, the person who introduced us became ill, unfortunately. She became very ill very quickly, and this, because this person was like a mother figure to him, it affected him really badly. And of course it was affecting everybody that was around, that knew the lady, because it was just such a sudden thing that happened for her to be ill. So everybody was shaken, everybody was very uneasy, unset with the whole situation of what happened to her, and he didn't take it well. So by doing that, him not taking it well, no, wait, I fast forwarded. Before that, we were like, ah, why don't we, what can we do? Because I was like, oh, this is taking forever. I either have to get married, or we have to do something. Even if it's just coming there, we just do a court wedding and then we can come back. And then I was like, no, let's try the fiance route of getting you here and stuff like that. So we did all the things, all the paperwork and everything, and we applied for his fiance visa to come here. That was such a nerve-wracking time. But again, we prayed about it, we applied and stuff like that. This is when you know that God has got you. God has got you. At the time, you wouldn't, I didn't realize it. But then when I start like looking back, I was like, wow, thank you, God. Thank you, Lord. Like, thank you. Like, you saved me in a way. But anyway, at the time, of course, you wouldn't be realizing like all these things that is happening, because you'd be like, what is going on? So we applied for his visa, and his visa was denied. And the reason why it was denied, I'm not going to disclose it, but it was something so stupid that even I was like, huh? Like, what the hell? How can this be possible that somebody can get denied for this? But anyway, um, as well, okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit, like from the beginning. The reason why I, okay, I'll talk about it. No, I'll talk about it later. So we did the fiance visa. It was denied, and then we were both like so frustrated. And then from that time that his visa was denied, he switched. And when I mean switched, he switched from 0 to 100. He switched from 0 to 100 real quick. Like, every conversation that we'll be having, it would turn into like an argument, or like every little thing. I don't even know whether it's like China. I was about to say China. You don't even know like if it's China or whatever it is. China is basically like, you don't know if it's like evil spirits or like witchcraft or whatever it is. But whatever that was going on was just, it was from 0 to 100. And bear in mind, I'm going through this whole thing alone and emotionally alone. I did not tell anybody. Nobody was knowing what was going on out there. I would be Mrs. the name, and nobody would even know what is going on and what was happening. And then, yeah, so he just basically it turned ugly. The person that introduced us, like I said, she fell ill, and then he completely like shut down. And when he was shutting down, I was blaming it on he is struggling with what is happening. But really, I don't know what was going on with him, or that's when I was starting now having doubts, like, why is this person acting like this? Is this person was really like in love with me, as he said? Like, what is it? Was he just start having all these things? Like, then was he just wanting to come here? Was he just wanting to come to England? Like, what is going on? But I kept on pushing. I kept on pushing, because this thing of like, I don't know whether it's an African thing or it's like a genuine thing for women, of saying like, as a woman, you have to stand for your family. You have to stand. Well, it is like, of course, yes, I understand. Yes, you have to stand. So this is the mindset that I had. And I was like, I have to stand for my family. Like, now we're married couple, although we're living separately, but we are married. Like, I have to stand for my family. I have to pray for my family. And I was like I was praying, and even getting other people to be praying about it. And but just not telling them what's happening, but just vague, like what's happening. Oh, just let's pray for families, this, and that. And we were praying about it all the time. Coffee's gone cold. But yeah, we were praying about it, and I was like, no, I need whatever this is going on. So I then spoke about this with his uncle that lived in Sheffield, and I was like, I don't know what's going on with him. Like he's going. So he started with a day. A day goes by, he's not messaging. 2 days go by, he's not messaging. A week goes by, he's not messaging. Oh, so yeah. So a week goes by, he's not messaging. 2 weeks goes by, it's just quiet, and I'm now like, okay, what's going on? So then I had to go to his uncle in Sheffield, and I was like, this is what's happening with him. And I spoke to the uncle with and his wife about it. And then I was like, he's literally just gone quiet. I don't know whether this is um because of the situation that the person that is introduced us, like, it's not well. And then I gave him the benefit of the doubt, saying, okay, this could be the reason why um that was happening. So I was like, no, I need to go. I need to go home. I need to go and see him, because and then I was like, so we'd spoken about this, that I was gonna go and see him, and then he started saying things like, why would you, he was like, why would you come here when you know the situation that's happening? I don't even think that. So we had planned that when we go, we're gonna go introduced to our extended families, to introduce to each other, to our extended families and stuff like that, like Zim and SA and Harare and Mutare, because I'm from Mutare, and he has family in Harare and stuff like that, and all over in Zim. So we had planned that I was gonna go there and we're gonna introduce each other to the families. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, why do you want to come here when the situation is like this with the person that had introduced us, like she's in hospital. And I was like, but still, we haven't seen each other now for literally like nearly a year, and us not seeing you're okay with us not seeing each other. And then he was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna get some time off around the I think I went again. I can't remember the dates exactly when I went, but I eventually, and then I spoke to the uncle again. He was like, oh, just go, it will work itself out, this and that. So I went to Zim again, and then no, a week before I went, and he already knew all this time that I was buying my ticket and everything, and I've already bought my ticket. He knew that in a week's time I'm coming. And then he's like, oh, work couldn't give me time off. Bear in mind, his work, he worked for his uncle. So I was like, what do you mean work is not going to give you time off? And as well, it's family. So they should understand, and they know like what's happening. So it was just making such silly excuses. But anyway, I went to them, and when we're there, okay, so when we're there, then the person started being so fishy. So he would be going to the toilet, for example, with his phone. If I'm sitting with him with his phone, he'll have his phone upside down, right? So me as me, because I'm not one to check before I never. I'm not one to check a man's phone or anything. But when something is just very suspicious and something that is just wrong, and I can feel it, and I know that something is wrong. Like I've got my gut feeling that something is wrong. So one time, oh, and then wait. So I went to Zim and then I stayed at my house because it was like, oh, I can't get the week off. So bear in mind, I went to Zim. I went to Zim. I was in Zim for the first week. I was by myself with my family. He said he couldn't come because he couldn't get time off work. Couldn't get time off work. So I was there with my family for a week. And then eventually he came over and I went to Harare. We met in Harare and then we saw each other's families in Harare. So we did quite a lot of. So we went to like Harare, we went to Kwekwe, we went to Chirezi, we went to Mutare, we went to Masvingo and stuff like that. So whilst we're in Kwekwe, that's when this whole thing with the phone situation and the toilet and blah 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 blah. So one time, like with me, because I've got nothing to hide, like I would happily hand him over my phone. He would have my phone or he'd ask to use my phone. I'd give him. But every time when I maybe something was going on with my phone and I'd be like, oh, can I use your phone? He would be, oh yeah, that was the reason because I was still not 100% connected because I had to get the whole Zim line and this and that. So I'd ask to use his phone. And every time it's like when I had to use his phone, he had to be there. So it's like every time when I'd asked to use his phone, he had to be there. So I was like, what is going on? And then of course my woman's intuition and the whole thing of okay, don't ever go into a man's phone unless if you think something is happening. But don't ever go into a man's phone because even if it's something silly or little, you're gonna find something when it's even nothing. So there's just no point. So my really gut instinct was just like, yeah, something is not right in all this. So I did. I got his phone. I went on his phone. Yes, I went on his phone. And long behold, my man was talking to three other ladies. So I read the messages and I'm going to say it out because I was thinking of like maybe I should just leave this part, but it's my truth and I'm just going to say it. So one of the messages was he was talking to a girl. And with this girl, he was like, oh, I think they must have been like friends or something like that. I don't know. But he was like, oh, you're my friend. Like, he was talking to the girl, was like, oh, you're my friend. Why don't you help me find somebody? Bear in mind, this is already a married man. He paid lobola to my family. And he had been messaging those girls, and they were recent messages. And he was like, oh, why don't you find me a girl? I have nobody. It's lonely out here. This, and that. Right? And then the other girl was like, oh, I had somebody. And I thought that basically he was saying, I had somebody. I'm that somebody. I had somebody, but it didn't work out. It's not working out. It didn't work out. So I'm basically single. And the other girl, they were sending each other pictures and she was sending him nude pictures. And I asked him about it because I'm not one person to hide. I'm not one person to hide. When I find, no, what happened was I ignored, after I found that, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything for, I think, 3 days. I didn't say anything because I was just like processing the whole information, what was going on. And then I asked him about it eventually. He said, oh, I think I must have been like radiating that I was just probably miserable, probably like being like edgy with him. And then he asked me, and oh, like what was up, what was wrong, this, and that. And I just couldn't say it. And I just looked at him and just started crying. And he was like, oh, what is going on? Trying to be like all like innocent. So then I asked him, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that you were looking for somebody else. Then he was like, oh, what you on about? This, the whole trying to be denial. What are you saying? What are you on about? And yeah, so I asked him, and he was just basically like, no, um, nothing is nobody. And he point blank lied to my face. I think that's what hurt me more. I can't deal with liars. I can't. And because when we started the relationship, I was like, my previous relationship, I was cheated on, and I was cheated on from basically the start to the end, and I still stayed with him, although he was cheating on me. And I'd told him, my ex-husband, at the start, that one thing that will break us, or that I will not tolerate at all, is one, if you lie to me, two, if you cheat on me. That is it. That is no, there's no two ways about it, because I have experienced this. I've been there before. So I would not tolerate cheating, and I don't tolerate liars. And this is just what my biggest pet peeve of liars. This is why I always teach my nieces and my nephews, and they can even testify that when they're lying and I know that they're lying, I always say, what do I say about liars? I don't like liars. I can't. So that's what hurt me the most, that you're practically, no, we are married, and you're lying to me about things like this. Like, what more could you, if you're lying about something like this, what more are you lying about? So